Good morning or good afternoon. I hope you are having a really great day right now. So this is the screencast for the notes for 32A. So you're going to click into My Open Math and then go to Notes for 32A. And question 1 just says, I understand that I must take notes. This means writing down all of the steps and terms shown by my teacher. So then we're going to type yes, capital Y-E-S. When I put in just little y-e-s, it didn't work. And submit. Going on to number 2. Okay, so number 2 is showing us an input-output machine. So if you look at it, you're going to notice that we have input right here, and then we have the stuff in the box, and then we have output. So inside the box, it says multiply by 4 and then add 5. And then if we look at our table, the input, we're supposed to put in 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So multiply by 4. So our first input is 0. So 4 times 0, and then add 5, plus 5, equals 0 plus 5 equals 5. So then we type 5 right here. Then we do the second input, which is 1. 4 times 1 plus 5 equals 4 plus 5 equals 9. And then we put 9 right here. Okay, then we have the next input, which is 2. So we have 4 times 2 plus 5 equals 8 plus 5 equals 13. So now we go type 13 right here. Now, I want you to notice something about this table. So do you notice that to get from 5 to 9, we add 4. To get from 9 to 13, we add 4. Well, that must mean that we're adding 4 every time. So to get the next number, 13 plus 4 is 17. And then to get the next number, 17 plus 4 is 21. And then to get the next number, 21 plus 4 is 25. Now, I want you to notice something about our equation. So remember how our equation is y equals mx plus b, right? Now, I want you to look, and do you notice that we're adding 4 every single time? So our slope, our m, is 4. So y equals 4x plus b. Now, I want you to look right here at our work that we did to fill in the table. Do you notice that it always says plus 5? And then when you look at the table, when the input is 0, do you notice the output is 5? Ladies and gentlemen, the b is always the value of y when x is 0. So if your input is 0, your output is the y-intercept, which in this case is 5. Now, we didn't have to write the equation for this, but we're going to have to do that pretty soon. So I just really wanted to show you that and go over it with you. Now, before you move on to number 3, make sure that you have all of the work in the work area, and then make sure that you typed in 5, 9, 13, 17, 21, and 25. So you can pause the video if you need to. Okay, so we typed in 5, and then 9, and then 13, and then 17, and then 21, and then 25. Now we move on to number 3. Okay, number 3 is a different problem. It's asking you which table of values represents this function y equals 2x plus 3. So I have this function y equals 2x plus 3. And I know that one of these tables is the correct table. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write y equals 2 parenthesis plus 3. So notice that I did a parenthesis in place of the x. Now I'm going to go to the first table. I'm going to go to this table right here, and I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm going to pick one of the x's. So the first x is -3, and I don't really want to do a negative, so I'm going to pick 5. I'm going to pick the x that says 5. So I'm going to do y equals 2 parenthesis 5, close parenthesis, plus 3. So y equals 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3. So y equals 10 plus 3, which is 13. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my table, and I'm looking specifically at the y value when my x was 5. So notice I have my arrow right here. So what is my y right there? Well, see how it's 12? Wait a minute, that's not what I got. I got 13. So that did not work. So that one did not work. Don't select that one. Okay, now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to go to the second table, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So y equals 2 parenthesis plus 3. Now when I go to the second table, I'm going to look at all of my x's, and I'm going to pick 3. So I'm going to pick 3. Because again, the first one's -5, and I don't want to do a negative. So I'm going to pick 3. So y equals 2 parenthesis 3 parenthesis plus 3. So then y equals 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3. So then y equals 6 plus 3 is 9. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to my table, and I'm looking when x was 3, what was the y? Woo! The y was 9. Awesome. This one worked. This is the answer. So I'm going to check it. Yes. Now for each of these problems, only one of the tables actually works. But I could check the third table if I wanted to, just to make sure, right? What if I made a mistake on one of the other two? So I have my y equals 2 parenthesis plus 3. And I'm going to go to my third table, and my first number in the table is -7. I don't want to do negatives. Second one's -1. I'm going to do the third one. The third one's 8. So y equals 2 parenthesis 8 parenthesis plus 3. So y equals 2 times 8 is 16 plus 3. So y equals 16 plus 3 is 19. Now, if you go back and look, when x is 8 in the table, the y is supposed to be 26. And see how it doesn't work. So the only one that actually worked was the middle one, and so the middle one is the one that we select. So now pause the video, make sure you get all the work in your work area, make sure you select the second table, and then submit. Remember to make sure you have all the work in the work area. Now we go on to number 4. Okay, number 4 is a little bit different. So I want you to look at number 4. It's basically the same as we did on number 3, except if you look, can you see that all of the x's are all the same numbers? So this time I can check all the tables at one time. So I'm going to write my equation, y equals 5 over 4x minus 3. Okay, now I'm looking at all of my tables, and all of them have 4 as the first number. So I'm going to substitute 4. Y equals 5 over 4 parenthesis, close parenthesis, minus 3. Y equals 5 over 4 parenthesis 4, close parenthesis, minus 3. Now, you may be thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to have to do fractions. That's okay. There's a calculator in this one. So we're going to go to the calculator, and we're going to type in 5 over 4, parenthesis, parenthesis, no, 4, parenthesis, minus 3. And notice that the calculator says the answer is 2. So then we go back to our work, and we write y equals 2. Now, if we go to look at our tables, do you notice in the first table the y is 2? That's good. In the second table, do you see how the y is 7? That doesn't work. In the third table, do you see that the y is 12? That doesn't work. In the fourth table, do you see that the y is 2? So now I know that my answer is either the first table or the fourth table, okay? So now I'm going to select 8 for the x. So I'm going to go y equals 5 over 4, parenthesis, close parenthesis, minus 3. And the second number in the tables is 8. So y equals 5 over 4, parenthesis, 8, close parenthesis, minus 3. Now, at this point, I go back to my calculator, and I'm going to backspace over the 4, and I'm going to change it to an 8. And do you notice that the answer that pops out is 7? So in my work area, I'm going to write y equals 7. And then I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to look at my first one and my last one. So notice on the first one that the y is 4, not 7. Cross that out. It doesn't work. But look, this one is 7, so it does work. So you're going to select the last one. Okay, now pause the video. Make sure you get all of the work written down. Select the last one and then submit. Okay, now we're on number 5. And number 5 wants the equation. So in order to write the equation, do you remember that you have to know the m and the b? So the first thing that we're going to do in the work area is we're going to make the table x and y, and we're just going to put the first 2 points, 0, 3, and 3, negative 6. Now, if you look over here on the right side of the answer space, they want to know how much the y's change by. So if I go here, I started at 3 and I ended up at negative 6. So one of the ways that you can think about this is, what if you were standing on a ladder and you were at 3 steps above the ground, and you're going to walk down the ladder, right? Because we're going to go to negative 6. So 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and negative 6. Now, we start at 3 because that's where we're standing. We're standing at 3, and then we're going to count as we walk down the steps. So if I count going down, I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from 3 to negative 6, I went down 9 steps. So the change in the y's is down 9, or negative 9. Now the next thing that we need is the change in the x's. So if we go to our table, the x's went from 0 to 3. Well, I don't need to draw a number line for that one. 0 plus 3 is 3. So the x is changed by 3. Okay, now, if we look at our next box, notice it says the changes in y over the changes in x. So m is the y's over the x's. So the y's went down by 9, and the x's went up by 3. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So our m is negative 3. Now the last thing that we need in this box over here on the right side is we need the y-intercept, which is the b. So if I go look at my table, I want you to notice that we know that when x is 0, y is 3. Anytime that you're looking for the y-intercept, whenever x is 0, that number for the y, that is the y-intercept. Okay? So my y-intercept is 3. Now, I just really briefly want to show you why that's true. So if I draw a little graph, a little xy axis, okay? I want you to notice that if I put a dot on the y-axis, like right here at 3, that point is 0, 3. So the x is always 0 when you're on the y-axis. Okay, and then finally we need to type in the equation. So y equals m. Now if you look over here in our boxes, the m is negative 3. Negative 3x plus, and then we need the b, and if you look over here on the right, the b is 3. And there we have it. Y equals negative 3x plus 3. Okay, make sure that you pause the video, that you have everything that you need in the work area, and then that you typed in the answers correctly. So we had that the 9s went down, or the y's went down by 9, the x's went up by 3, the slope was negative 9 divided by 3, which is negative 3. The y-intercept is 3 because when x is 0, y is 3. And then y equals negative 3x plus 3. Now we go on to number 6. So number 6 is very similar to number 5, but there is one difference. So we start out the same, we make the table, and we just start with the first 2 points. So the first point is 5, negative 4, and the second point is 9, negative 12. The first thing that we need is the change in the y's, okay? So I started at negative 4 and I stopped at negative 12. So I started on my ladder 4 steps below the ground. And then I stopped 12 steps below the ground. Negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12. Now remember, we're standing at that step, so we don't start counting there. We start counting at negative 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we went down 8. So the change in the y's is negative 8 because we went down 8. The x's went from 5 to 9, so the x's went up 4. Okay, now the slope is the y's over the x's. The y's went down 8, the x's went over 4. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 4. So the slope is negative 4. Now, so far, all of this problem has been exactly the same as number 5. But now we hit where it's different. I need the y-intercept. So I look at my x's, and do you notice that nowhere in that table is the x 0? Nowhere. Nowhere in the 8 divided by 4 is not negative 4. 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. I did it right in class and then did it wrong on the video. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. Sorry, fix that. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2, so your slope, your m, is negative 2. Okay, now back to what I was saying a minute ago. So if we look at our table, notice there's no place in the table where the x is 0. Well, I need to know when x is 0, what's y, because that's the y-intercept. So I'm going to go down towards the bottom of my work area, and I'm going to create another xy table. And this time I'm going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I know that when x is 5, y is negative 4. Now, I know that my slope is negative 2, which means that we're subtracting 2 every time. In my table, can you see that I need to go backwards? Well, I need to know what's backwards of subtracting 2. So what's backwards of subtracting 2 would be the opposite of subtracting 2, which would be adding 2. So negative 4 plus 2. So 4 negatives plus 2 positives is 2 negatives. Negative 2 plus 2, 2 negatives plus 2 positives is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6. So my y-intercept, my b, is 6. Okay, now I'm ready to type the equation. Y equals m, which is negative 2x, plus b, which is 6. Okay, now you're going to pause the video. You're going to make sure that you get all of the work in the work area and that you have all of the answers typed correctly in the answer boxes. And then you're going to submit. So the y's went down 8. The x's went right 4. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. The y-intercept was 6. So my equation is y equals negative 2x plus 6. Oh, I typed the wrong number there, didn't I? Negative 2x plus 6. And then I submit. And voila, I am done with the notes for 32A. And now it is time to do homework for 32A. Please don't forget, if you haven't already, have your parent sign in to Class Dojo. It's in your Google Classroom as an assignment. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.